Welcome. Let's begin at the top of our mats. Standing with the feet hip distance apart. Now, this is interesting. We think about our hips and sometimes we think about the outsides of our hips. But in yoga, when we're talking about hip distance, we're really thinking about those hip bones. So maybe putting the heels of your wrists into the bones or about where the bones would be and pointing straight down, that's about where your feet are. So that's hip distance apart. So standing here, taking a moment first to soften the knees. And then I invite you perhaps to close the eyes or just take the gaze down. In this case, about 3 feet or a meter in front of you. And the first thing we'll do is sense the weight over the feet. So you might rock the weight a little bit forward towards the toes, or let the weight come back towards the heels, taking that forward and back until it feels about even. Then see if you can cultivate a sense of spreading the feet, each individual foot itself, the muscles of the foot, spreading them wide the way we would a hand to support you and create a wider base. Maybe rock that weight towards the right side of each foot, towards the left side of each foot. Maybe rock that weight to the outer edges of each foot, the inside of the foot, the instep or arches, and roll your way out until it feels about even that way as well. Now, before we do anything else, just notice if that work, that concentration on the feet has created tension somewhere in the body. If so, that's normal. Just noticing that that has happened and where it's happened. And let's take a deep breath in. Exhale and just relax everything. Everything over the feet, letting the feet take the weight. Now, making sure the knees are gently soft so that we're not locking the knees back. Gives us a little bit more control over where the weight goes. And of course, it protects the knees as well. Now, taking the inner vision, if the eyes are closed, or just bringing the attention up the legs now from the feet to the knees to the hips. And sense your hips over the heels, over the ankles. Notice if the belly is gripping. Notice if the pelvis feels whether as though you have an anterior or posterior tilt. And let's play with that pelvic tilt for a minute. So maybe bringing one hand to the belly, one hand to the lower back as you rock the pelvis, open and closed, forward and back. Keeping the knees bent and soft and just noticing where feels like the natural place for you. And also challenging yourself to see where feels like the most balanced place. Now, we don't want to eliminate the curve of the lower back at all. Just wanting to find the place where it feels about even. And one thing that can help is to figure out how to use our muscles. So bringing the attention to the navel, envision drawing that belly button towards the lower spine to protect the lower back. And then see how that relates to the pelvic tilt. Let's take another deep breath in. Exhale and release everything. And rebuild our posture from the feet, feeling that even balance, wide support, making sure the knees are soft, hips are over the heels or ankles, finding that proper tilt that feels about balance for your body, and bringing the attention now to the shoulders. Now, as we stand here in our mountain pose, we'd like the top of the shoulders to feel released. Maybe rotating in the shoulder girdle slightly to gently draw the shoulder blades toward one another, but making sure that it's not so much that the rib cage splays open. So thinking about the rib cage as like the gate, an open gate. We'll close that gate, find that evenness here the same way we did in the pelvic bowl, finding that for the chest and the upper back. And allowing the shoulders to go over the hips. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, let it all out. Feeling your weight again, building our posture from the base, softening the knees, feeling the hips aligned over the heels and ankles. The pelvic bowl feels its tilt, that is to balance. Rib cage quiet, shoulder blades gently drawing towards one another, tops of the shoulders melt down. Lastly, we'll bring our attention to the back of the neck. These vertebrae here, between the shoulders and the crook of the neck or the back of the head. Imagine creating a little bit of space here. Now that would mean bringing the chin down a little bit, but let's find the place where the chin is about parallel to the ground, feeling that length in the back of the neck as we extend and open the throat. Maybe a sense that you're drawing upward through the crown of the head even. And from this place, we'll begin Surya Namaskar A, Sun Salutation A. Taking our time, really working the alignment here. So here in your mountain pose, whose Sanskrit name is Tadasana, noticing the breath now. Noticing where the breath feels most obvious. Now that you've found your alignment, noticing which muscles seem to be doing the work to keep you vertical. Noticing if any of the muscles are doing too much work. We'll take 3 breaths here before moving in to the next part of our flow. Inhale from the soles of the feet all the way through the body. Exhale, release all the way back down to the soles of the feet. Inhale, and as you think of rising, also think of expanding forward and back, side to side. And as you exhale, coming back into the midline of the body, rooting down. One last time, this time inhaling, feeling the weight and posture of the body. And as you exhale, let's envision melting all of the extra muscles away, releasing completely. And we'll take the palms together, resting the heels of the hands at the chest or the thumbs at the chest. And on the next inhale, the fingertips will lead us straight up, keeping the alignment in the pelvis and the back, trying for a moment to keep everything vertical. Now, it might help to separate the hands here. Creating parallel arms creates a little bit more space and control in the shoulders. Intentionally not finding that back bend just yet, just finding vertical space. Continuing to breathe here, lengthening from fingertips to the soles of the feet. And on your next exhale, we'll open the arms wide. Let's take them just to about shoulder height. Then we'll bend from the hip joint forward as we exhale and release. Now, softening the knees whenever feels like needs to happen is just fine as we release over to forward fold. Again, you can keep the knees soft and bent here. Allow the crown of the head to spill toward the ground. Feel what it's like to have the tailbone reaching up towards the ceiling while the head reaches down towards the ground. Noticing what this does to your balance. If the hands don't touch the ground, please feel free to fold the elbows and release here, keeping the eyes open, looking between the knees or the thighs or the calves. Feel the weight over the feet. And now we'll begin playing with props if you have them. You may find your blocks. And blocks have 3 basic settings. This is the lowest, then there's medium, and then there's high. So wherever you are, we'll take the blocks and we'll place them beneath our hands to give us a little bit of a sense that the ground is coming up to us as we lengthen through the spine, as we come to a half lift. Now here in this half lift, again we'll take the navel up towards the spine. And we'll think about lengthening through the crown of the head to create space in the vertebra. continuing to breathe here, also let's think about lengthening from the crown of the head to the tailbone. Knees can stay soft, or you can gently begin to extend the legs to warm the hamstrings here. Now, if you aren't using any blocks, your hands can go any number of places. Of course, the fingertips may find the ground, noticing though what that does to the curve of the upper back. Really privileging the opportunity to lengthen the spine. So if releasing your blocks means curving more, maybe considering continuing to work with the blocks for a bit. Or the hands can come to the legs. Now, the hands can come to the lower legs. The hands can come to the thighs. The hands can come anywhere except the knees. So always protecting the knees by avoiding them and avoiding putting pressure on them. Let's get ready to step back. On your next exhale, you can release the blocks if you have them. Soften the knees completely. Bring the hands down. And we'll step the right leg back, pressing through that right heel as we step the left leg back to meet it. Feet are about hip width apart, pressing through our heels, opening through the collarbone, drawing the shoulder blades toward one another, but not so much that they squeeze in, really creating a sense of width in the upper back. And if this is a bit too much pressure already, you're welcome to bring down one knee or both knees or alternate, noticing that you want to keep the torso long. In fact, it should seem as though there's no difference in the torso whether you have the knees down or the knees up. And from here, we're going to lower all the way down to the belly, onto the ground. So either with the legs straight or with the knees bent, taking your time through the exhale, watching as the elbows bend, taking the elbows straight back, maybe rocking a bit forward to release completely. Release the tops of the feet as well. This is a great way to start to strengthen, or rather increase the flexibility of the tops of the feet. From here, keeping the hands on the mat. Spread the fingers wide. Maybe get a sense of gripping the ground with your fingertips. Just to beginning to warm the fingertips and the fingers. Drawing the shoulder blades toward one another. Again, not so much that it's though you were holding a pencil between the shoulder blades. A little bit of space between them, creating width. But engaging the back muscles. Engaging as well the muscles in the legs by pressing the tops of the feet into the ground. This is a very active posture. Bring your attention to the back of your neck. And let's find the space in those vertebrae again. Lengthening here. Breathing as you lengthen from the crown of your head down through the neck, through the back, through the legs, down to the toes. And then we'll tuck the toes. Put weight into the hands to push yourself up through a bit of a table pose as we get ready to make our way into our first child's pose. Now we're going to explore child's pose in a few variations, but let's start with a basic child's pose. One variation is to keep the legs parallel, maybe coming onto the tops of the feet and releasing the forehead to the ground. From here, you can take the hands back by the feet, tops of the hands onto the ground, palms facing up. If this feels constricted, as though you're really crunching into yourself, there are so many things that we can do. You can take a blanket and place it here beneath the thighs, between the thighs and the calves to create a little bit more space. You can take a block to give you a little bit more height, maybe take some of the pressure off the tops of the feet. You can take the knees just slightly apart, not so much that the hips begin to open, but just to create a little bit more space as we continue to breathe in our child's pose.
And now, let's get ready to move on to the next posture. So from here, let's take 3 more breaths. Really visualize the breath moving up and down the spine. Inhaling from the tailbone all the way up the back, through the neck, to the crown of the head. Exhaling all the way back down, from the crown of the head, the neck, the back, to the tailbone. Inhaling again, watching the breath rise. Exhaling, releasing the breath. One more time, watching the breath move as you inhale. Exhale completely. And now we'll take the hands ahead of us, placing them on the mat. We'll inhale to look between the hands and, gripping the mat, pull ourselves back onto all fours. And from here, you can remove any props if you were using them. And let's tuck the toes and make our way into our first downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. From here, we're going to reverse into it. So really feel the sense that your tailbone is going to be leading you. In fact, before we head there, let's take a few rounds of cat and cow to really get a sense of the articulation of the spine. So make sure that your wrists are beneath your shoulders. Your knees are underneath your hips. The toes can be tucked or released. It's a little bit easier on the balance to keep the toes tucked. Feel a sense of lengthening from the crown of the head to the tailbone and drawing the navel again up towards the spine. Thinking like a table without swaying in the middle. Drawing it all in. Feeling the space between the shoulder blades. Feel as though your upper back were growing wider like the mat. Keeping weight into the fingertips so that you don't cave into your wrists. Maybe having a sense of lifting from the cup of the palm like a suction cup. And using the fingertips to distribute that weight. We'll inhale, and lengthening from the crown of the head to the tailbone will begin to arc as we inhale, looking up. Exhale, really drawing the navel in towards the spine, beyond the spine, imagining really pulling it up towards the ceiling as we curve over. And the tailbone and the crown of the head find each other underneath the body. Inhale, uncoil the spine to look up. Exhale, drawing the navel in, pulling yourself. One more time. Inhale, uncoil, and look up. Exhale, draw the navel in, pulling yourself up and looking under. And now let's find a neutral spine again. Lengthening from the crown of the head to the tailbone, finding width in the sides of the body. And now, envisioning the tailbone pulling you backward through space, we'll pull our way back into a downward facing dog. The crown of the head is kind of the last to arrive. Now, you'll notice that my knees are very bent. Let's start here. And if at any time it's too much pressure in the shoulders still, feel free to bring the knees down and take a moment to rest. And from here, we're going to play with a lot of different pieces of our alignment. So we're looking back through the feet, making sure the feet are about hip width apart. Again, taking your time and bringing the knees down to rest at table at any point. Think of spreading the toes a bit, just like we think of spreading our hands. Thinking about the way we spread the muscles of the feet at the beginning of our practice. The tailbone reaches towards the sky, and keeping the knees bent actually frees that pelvic bowl to tilt, really arcing it upward. Thinking of the shoulders now, let's think of rolling the tops of the shoulders away from the ears, creating space here, spreading the weight of the body through the hands into the fingertips. Again, envisioning that suction cup of the palm to keep the weight off of just the wrists, really distributing that weight. We'll take another breath here if you're still with me, or rejoining me here in downward facing dog if you're taking a break. Inhale, lengthening from the tailbone, upward, down through the crown of the head, and as you exhale, releasing a little bit more. And now let's take the knees wide onto the mat, big toes touching, as we find another variation of child's pose. Here, we'll bring the tops of the feet back to the mat, bring the hips back towards the heels. But with the knees wide, we've opened the hips, and this creates a lot more space for the belly. Seeing if this feels better for you than the narrow-legged version. This time, we'll keep the hands in front of us as we walk our hands out and bring the forehead back to the mat. Now, if this feels less supportive or less comfortable than the narrow-legged version of child's pose that we already practiced, please feel free to return, walking the hands in, drawing the thighs closer together, bringing the hands behind you. Otherwise, you're welcome to enjoy this wide-legged version of child's pose. And there's so much that can be done in this posture, but for now, let's try to find a sense of ease. Again, watching the breath move up and down the spine. And when we get ready to flow with our Surya Namaskar, by the time we arrive in a child's pose, it'll feel like a place of rest. So conjuring that sense now. We'll take an inhale together. Exhale and release. Inhaling fully, watching the breath move up the spine. Exhaling, feeling it move down the spine. Inhaling one last time together. Exhale, release even more. Find more release in the body. On your next inhale, bringing your attention into the hands, feeling your fingertips grip the mat, looking forward. Pull yourself onto all fours, coming back parallel if the knees were wide, tucking the toes, and we'll reverse, using the tailbone to pull us back again into our downward facing dog. And from here, let's walk to the top of our mat. But let's take that journey mindfully, really articulating the muscles of the feet and the legs as we begin to make our way to the top of the mat. Feeling the way that the weight shifts from one foot to the other and the way that the weight rolls through the feet. Feel the hips rising, bringing weight further towards the hands. And when you arrive, softening the knees, releasing the crown of the head towards the ground. Really spilling forward. Again, same rules apply. You can keep the hands wherever feels comfortable in this forward fold if they reach the ground or the blocks, or you'd rather bend the elbows and hang out here, you may. And we'll get ready to lengthen through the spine again, maybe finding your blocks or pressing into your own legs to find a counterbalance, really pressing away, lengthening the torso away from the hips. Do the crown of the head, draw the navel up towards the spine, breathing here. And on your next exhale, we'll release completely. Now, we'll uncoil through the spine, but we'll take our arms wide as we reverse swan dive all the way up to the top.
let's keep vertical rather than a back bend. Maybe bringing the arms parallel again. Palms face each other. See if you can release the tops of the shoulders. Maybe the palms find each other overhead, and as you exhale, we'll bring the hands down the midline of the body, resting the thumbs or the heels of the hands at the chest once more. What a long journey through Surya Namaskar A. Whether you're a beginning practitioner or an advanced practitioner, slowing it down can really help refine our practice. Now that we've gone through these, let's try to put them together into a flowing sequence. Beginning in Tadasana, we'll release the hands first. Sense your feet hip width apart. Feel the weight distributed evenly. Inhale, grow taller. Exhale, release here. Now bringing the palms together again at the chest. Inhale, lengthen through the back of the neck. Exhale, root deeper. And we'll move on. Inhale, fingertips up towards the sky. You can keep the palms together or create more space for the shoulders by taking the palms apart, arms parallel. Exhaling here. Inhale, lengthen to grow taller, and let's continue on. Opening the arms about shoulder width as we forward fold and swan dive, bending the knees whenever need be. Coming completely to our forward fold. Crown of the head spills forward. Let's take a breath here. Inhale the tailbone higher, exhaling the crown of the head towards the ground. And on our next inhale, let's lengthen to our half lift, placing the hands anywhere but the knees, drawing the shoulders toward one another. Breathe here. Let's continue here for a moment. One more breath to lengthen. Now exhale, and we'll bring the hands all the way down to the ground. So bend the knees whenever you need to. And continue to exhale as you step the right leg back and the left leg back. You can stay here in your plank, or you can release one or both knees. And this time as we come down, let's really think about rocking forward. Now, looking at the shoulders over the wrists, what do I mean? It will be as though the elbows want to stay where they are, over the wrists, but the shoulders want to move forward. This will help as we move towards Chaturanga. In fact, this is a Chaturanga. So coming down here. Now, I'm going to back up for a moment. The reason why we rock forward is because if we just come straight down, there's really nowhere for our arms to go, right? We crunch in here. But if you think about using the strength of your feet to propel you forward, there's so much more room. So, coming all the way onto your belly, if you haven't already done so, playing with that, maybe moving through Chaturanga, either with the knees down or up, rocking forward. Release the tops of the feet. We'll inhale here and lengthen once from the crown of the head to the toes. And as we exhale, let's tuck the toes, push up and back, reversing into our downward facing dog. You can keep the knees as bent as you'd like, or you may choose to lengthen the legs. We're going to take a few rounds of breath here. So really experimenting. Where is your weight? Feeling it spread evenly between each foot, each hand. Making sure that the fingers are active. Thinking about the circle around the palm of the hand. Maybe envisioning the center of the palm like a suction cup. All of that work will help protect the wrists. Thinking about the shoulders, creating space between the shoulders and the ears. Maybe rotating in the shoulder blades and the shoulder girdle and drawing the shoulder blades closer together. Taking another breath, we'll think of the tailbone reaching up and the crown of the head reaching towards the ground. Your ears may be in alignment with your biceps, perhaps.
And let's go ahead and find your preferred variation of child's pose, either with the knees wide, big toes touching, arms in front, or with the thighs parallel and the arms behind you. Your choice. Now, I tend to choose this version with the legs parallel and the hands behind me when I need to release the shoulders, maybe after a particularly long downward facing dog, or anytime my shoulders need a break. Allowing the upper back to curve here. And you'll notice there's a big difference in the upper back between keeping the arms back behind you here in this parallel version. A bit of a curve in the upper back. Or you find a gentle back bend as you bring the hands forward and take the knees wide. So just noticing that difference and also noticing what feels best in your body right now. Whichever variation of child's pose you're in, let's take one more breath together, lengthening through the spine or rounding through the spine, creating space either way. And releasing fully on that exhale. And wherever you are, just reaching the hands forward again, bringing the weight into the palms and the fingertips, inhaling to look forward and pulling yourself onto all fours. Bring the legs parallel. If they're wide, tuck the toes. Reverse into your downward facing dog. Let the crown of the head be the last thing to arrive. And you can either walk to the top of your mat or we can step to the top of the mat. 1 foot at a time, lengthening, just as in reverse of the way that we arrived into our plank. And find your way to a forward fold. Then we'll inhale to lengthen in our half lift once more, keeping the weight over the heels rather than rocking too far back. Exhale, release to your forward fold, and we'll reverse swan dive. Let's take the arms wide as we come all the way up to the top. Feel the weight shift over the feet. Palms either together or arms parallel as you lengthen. Exhale here for a moment. We'll take one more lengthening inhale, then bring the palms together if they aren't already. Exhale the hands down the midline of the body. We call this samasthiti, when the palms are still together. Maybe the heels of the hands or the thumbs of the chest. Lengthen through the back of the neck. And breathe here. We're going to take one more round, moving closer to one breath and one movement. Allow this to begin to feel like a moving meditation. Lengthening through the crown of the head, the back of the neck. On your next exhale, just release the hands down. Rolling the shoulders in the shoulder girdle, drawing the shoulder blades closer to each other, but keeping the rib cage quiet. Feeling the tilt of your pelvis, your pelvic bowl. Finding the place that feels that the abdominals and the lower back are roughly evenly engaged, evenly released. Draw the navel in towards the spine. Soften the knees. Feel the weight evenly distributed over the feet, rocking forward or back, side to side, in step and outer blades of the feet as needed. And feel that alignment of heels, soften knees, hips, shoulders, quiet rib cage, navel in, lengthening through the back of the neck, opening through the throat, crown of the head. One more breath here, and then we'll move together. Bring the palms together at heart center. Inhale, we'll take the fingertips up towards the ceiling. Exhale, open the arms wide and forward fold. Lengthening, lengthening, softening the knees whenever. Release completely at the bottom of your exhale, the crown of the head towards the ground. Uncoil through the spine to lengthen in a half lift. Draw the navel up towards the spine. Exhale, bend the knees completely as we step back into our plank. Maybe keeping the legs long, maybe softening through the knees. Let's come all the way on to our belly as we exhale. Lengthening the tops of the feet as we inhale, also lengthening through the back of the neck, engaging the back muscles. And on your exhale, we'll tuck the toes, push up through our table. The tailbone pulls us backward into downward facing dog. Lengthening here, rotating the shoulders back and down away from the ears, feeling width in the upper back, feeling the weight in the hands distributed across your fingertips, around the full circle of your palm, lifting up and away from the ground. Feel the weight in the feet, looking between the feet, making sure they're hip width apart. You can soften the knees as much as you'd like, remembering that softening the knees helps free the pelvic bowl, really tilting the pelvis, reaching that tailbone high. Taking a couple more breaths here before we take a moment to rest in a child's pose and move on. Finding the ears in alignment with perhaps the biceps. And we'll inhale one last time. Tailbone reaches high. Exhale, find your preferred version of child's pose, either with the legs parallel and the hands behind you, or the big toes touching, knees apart, arms in front of you. Whichever you choose. Inhale fully and exhale, release. Allowing the breath to be natural, just watching the breath move up and down the spine. And really release here. Feel the difference between working and resting. And without rushing it forward, at the bottom of your next exhale, preparing to re-engage the body by reaching the arms forward if they aren't already, pressing the fingertips into the ground as you inhale, look forward and pull yourself onto all fours. Tuck your toes, tailbone pulls you back into your downward facing dog, and either walking or stepping to the top of your mat into your forward fold. Spilling the crown of the head forward. On your next inhale, lengthening through the spine, half lift. Exhale, release again. Arms wide. We'll inhale, reverse swan dive all the way to the top. Arms parallel first. Lengthen as you inhale. Palms together as you exhale, come down the midline of the body. Lengthen one more time through the crown of the head, back of the neck. Exhale, release the hands. Let's take that 2 more rounds, speeding it up just the tiniest bit. Finding your alignment. Inhale, palms together. Lengthen through the back of the neck. Exhale, root through the feet. Inhale, fingertips up. Maybe finding parallel arms, navel in. Exhale, swan dive over your legs. Release the crown, forward fold at the bottom of the exhale. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, find your way back into plank. And we'll lengthen here in an inhale before exhaling all the way down to the ground. Tops of the feet on the ground. Inhale, lengthen from the crown of the head to the toes, activating the back of the body. Exhale, tuck the toes, push up through your table, reverse into your downward facing dog. Inhale, exhale. Finding your alignment, hands about shoulder width apart, feet about hip width apart, and continuing to breathe. You're always welcome to move in your downward facing dog, alternating bent knees, readjusting as you open, lengthening the body, opening the body, creating space, creating width. Take one more full round of breath here, a full and complete exhale. And then to prepare us to move into our child's pose, take one more breath in, tailbone up. And now exhale to release down. Knees wide, big toes touching, or legs parallel. Release the crown of the head, the forehead to the mat. Make sure the elbows are soft. Take a deep breath in. Exhale and find more release, remembering that this is a resting posture. So explore the body for a moment and notice if there's any gripping, any holding on, any active tightening of the muscles. And if so, see if you can massage those muscles from the inside with your breath. Coax them to release. Give your body permission to rest. Take one more breath here. And at the bottom of your next exhale, wherever you are, find the hands in front of you, placing the palms on the mat, activating the fingertips and looking between your hands. Pull yourself onto all fours, tuck your toes, reverse into your downward facing dog. And as you exhale, continuing to fall forward to the top of the mat, spilling the crown of the head forward. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, release. Arms wide, reverse swan dive. All the way to the top, let's find that parallel, even body. Exhale, palms together, come down the midline. Resting the heels of the hands, the fingertips at the chest. Inhale here, lengthen through the crown of the head. Now exhale, release the hands. Let's take a moment to breathe here in Tadasana before we take our final round. Double check weight distribution, posture, soles of the feet, ankles, knees, hips, belly, lower back, rib cage, shoulder blades, tops of the shoulders, back of the neck, throat, crown of the head. On your next inhale, bring the palms together. Heels of the hands or thumbs at the chest. Exhale, release here. Inhale, fingertips guide us up. Exhale, swan dive over your legs. Spilling forward. Inhale into a half lift. Exhale, place the hands down and step back into your plank. Knees up or down. Lengthen as you inhale. Exhale, find your way all the way onto your belly. Release the tops of the feet. Keep the palms of the hands onto the ground as you inhale, lengthening the body, activating the upper back. Tops of the feet press into the ground, and as you exhale, tuck the toes, push yourself back through table, reversing into downward facing dog. It's our last time holding our down dog here. Really allow each breath to feel
growth in this posture. Even when we're staying in a specific pose for a few rounds of breath, it should never feel static. There's always movement. There's always the opportunity to grow, open, lengthen, create more width, create more space. Readjusting your posture as you do so. Maybe as you open, you're able to lengthen. Give yourself freedom. Don't encourage your body to stay still. Encourage your body to find micro movements and freedom. Take one more breath here. And we'll take our last child's pose, finding your preferred variation. Big toes touching, knees apart or legs parallel with the arms behind you. Either way, releasing the forehead to the ground. Take a big deep breath in and exhale completely. Find as much ease as you can here in this posture. And just watching the breath move up and down the spine. And without rushing it forward, at the bottom of your next exhale, go ahead and reactivate the hands, reaching the arms long ahead of you. Inhale and look forward between the hands. Bring the weight into all the fingertips. Pull yourself onto all fours. Tuck the toes. Reverse into downward facing dog. And as you exhale, find your way to the top of your mat in a forward fold. Crown of the head spilling forward. Inhale, lengthening, half lift. Exhale, releasing completely. Opening the arms wide. Reverse swan dive all the way to the top. Finding parallel arms. The body grows tall through the crown of the head. And on an exhale, palms together and come down the midline of the body. And let's take a moment here with the palms together, eyes closed, just to sense your weight over your feet. Noticing your balance. Checking in from the base of your posture, the soles of your feet. Feeling the weight evenly distributed, softening the knees gently and noticing what that frees in the leg muscles, and the pelvic bowl, the belly, the lower back, the rib cage, upper back, back of the neck, the throat, crown of the head. Take one more lengthening inhale, fluttering the eyes open, and releasing the hands. So we'll just take the first part of Surya Namaskar A just to get us down to the ground as we prepare to release and bring our practice to a close. So bringing the palms together, inhale, fingertips up. Exhale, swan dive over. Exhale, lengthen through the spine, half lift. And this time we'll exhale and we'll just go ahead and bring our tail to the ground. Sitting down. Soles of the feet on the ground. Let's bring the hands to the shins. Lengthening here, reaching through the crown of the head. Breathing here. Rotating the shoulders down away from the ears. Feel the shoulder blades draw toward one another, but close the rib cage. Feel the knees pointing straight up. The soles of the feet spread wide, just like our hands in downward facing dog. Feel that weight distributed. And let's release down on an exhale. Take your time, the way that we took our time as we walked to the top of the mat at the beginning of our practice. Really make your way down, and you can release the hands if you'd like. Bring the palms up. As you find your way down, find your way down, find your way down. Releasing. Let's take the right foot up towards the ceiling and open up that hip. Turn the toes open, knees point out to the right. Cross that right ankle over the left thigh. You're welcome to stay here, gently opening that right leg. Or you can take that left knee up towards the sky. Take that left foot off the ground. Maybe interlace your fingers behind the left thigh. You can stay here. Or maybe you can begin to draw that left knee in towards the chest and use the right arm, the right elbow in particular, to really gently press that right leg open. As you inhale, maybe drawing that left knee in. As you exhale, maybe pressing that right knee away. Noticing that my feet are flexed. Keep both feet flexed to keep this stretch active and to keep the knees in alignment. Really try to draw that right ankle beyond that left thigh if possible to keep the foot from sickling in. One more time, inhale to draw the left knee in, exhale to press that right knee away. And we'll release the posture, taking the right foot up and then back down, changing left foot up, crossing it over the ankle beyond the right thigh. 2 flexed feet as we peel the right foot off the mat. You can stay here, or maybe you can interlace the fingers behind the right thigh. And we'll draw the right knee in towards the chest, inhaling, drawing it in, exhaling, using the left elbow to gently press the left knee away, the left thigh opening. Be mindful of the back of the neck and the tops of the shoulders. Create space. Feel a sense of lengthening and width, even though we're laying on our backs. Continuing to inhale and gently draw the right knee in and gently pressing the left leg away with your exhale. Inhaling, drawing the right knee in. Exhale, pressing the left knee away. Keeping evenness in the torso. One more breath here. Drawing the right knee in and pressing the left knee away. And then we'll release. The left foot finds its way up and back down. Let's take both knees up towards the chest, bringing the hands onto the shins, giving yourself a bit of a hug here. It might feel good to rock your body side to side, but it might not. So noticing what feels good on your lower back. Maybe it feels best just to gently pull the thighs inward. Maybe it feels good to roll through the lower back. And now we'll take both knees, let them fall to the right. And maybe take the right hand onto the left leg. The left hand can open in a T or a cactus. Maybe you turn the head to look towards the left to complete the twist. Find length in the back of the neck, no matter where you are. Maybe closing the eyes in this gentle twist. And if it doesn't feel gentle, back it up a little. Create space. You're welcome to put a blanket or a block between your legs if it's uncomfortable on your knees to be this close together. You can keep the gaze up towards the ceiling if turning the head is too much pressure in the neck. Take one more easeful breath here. When you're ready, inhale. Let's reverse, draw those knees back in to the chest, into the belly. And we'll take them to the other side, falling towards the left side, allowing the left hand to rest on the outside of the right thigh, opening the right arm into a cactus or a T, either keeping the face towards the ceiling or turning to look towards the right side and complete the twist. Keep the back of the neck long wherever you are. And really release here. Can you feel where the twist begins in your spine? Can you create length and space between the vertebra, even in the twist? And when you're ready, on an inhale, gathering yourself again, reversing the movement, coming back up to the belly and the chest. And now we'll release the legs, the feet back to the mat. Extend the legs down. Let the legs, the feet, just fall open. If you have a blanket, you might want to put it over yourself if you're feeling a little chilly. As we move into our Shavasana, take a moment first and bend your arms at the elbows and press your triceps and elbows into the ground and shimmy your shoulders closer together. Now release the back of the hands completely onto the ground. Feel the space between the shoulders and the ears. Feel the back of the neck long, but the throat open as well. Feel yourself supported, and we'll take one deep breath in. Let's exhale with a sigh and feel yourself melting into the ground, supported by the ground. Closing the lips and allowing the breath just to breathe itself. Noticing the parts of the body that are in contact with the ground. Noticing where the breath feels most obvious in the body right now. Noticing if there are any muscles on the body that are working a little too hard, giving them permission to release. The ground has you. You don't have to do anything. Just release. bottom of your next exhale, keeping the eyes closed, bringing the legs parallel again so that the toes are pointing up towards the ceiling, and gently sliding the heels onto the ground, the soles of the feet onto the ground, drawing your knees and thighs back towards your chest, towards your belly. Bring the hands onto the shins. Again, gently pressing, drawing your legs into yourself, maybe rolling if it feels good, but just being gentle here. Now we'll allow the knees to spill over to the right side. This time use your right arm as a pillow as you completely come onto your right side. Finding some alignment here and really breathing here for a moment. Adjusting so that the spine feels long, the neck feels long. Your left hand can rest on the left leg, or allowing it to spill across the torso so that the left hand falls onto the ground. Take one more long, full breath in here. Exhale completely with a sigh. Finding more release and bringing the lips closed. Letting the breath be natural. And as an experiment, let's see if we can keep the eyes closed for this next part. Maybe keeping the eyes closed, press your weight into your left palm onto the ground and push yourself up to sitting. And maybe keeping the eyes closed, see if you can find your way roughly to the middle of your mat, sitting with the legs crossed in an easy seat. Nothing too special, just sitting cross-legged. Feeling your way, your proprioception, or your sense of yourself in space guiding you. Where is the middle? Where is front facing? Feel yourself supported by the ground, rooted into your mat. Noticing the belly, give it permission to release if the muscles are doing their work. Notice your shoulders. Gently release the tops of the shoulders, maybe rotating in the shoulder girdle to draw the shoulder blades ever so slightly toward one another, but not so much that it wakes up the rib cage. Keeping it all quiet. Gently allowing the shoulders to be over the hips, so rocking a little forward or back until you find that alignment. Finding length in the back of the neck, opening in the throat. And let's bring the palms of the hands together, maybe resting the heels of the hands or the thumbs at the chest once more. And if the eyes are still closed, allowing that to be so. Or taking the gaze down and ahead of us. Take one last breath in, long and full. Exhale with a sigh. Feel yourself supported and closing the lips, allowing the breath to be natural, and this time bowing the head down, allowing the gaze to move with you as you begin to flutter the eyes open. First, looking down and allowing the gaze to include your peripheral vision, slowly taking in what's around you, taking your time as you begin to uncoil the top of the spine, bringing the head even, taking in what's in your room, and eventually finding your way perhaps back to the screen. My name is Salita Brown of Pramana Wellness, teacher owner here at The Connective. Thank you for sharing your practice with me today. Be well.